My name is Douglas McFarland, and this is the life of Malcolm X. Malcolm X was born in Omaha, Nebraska. Malcolm X moved to the Midwest at a young age. His father committed suicide when he was young, and he lost his mother from unlucky circumstances. And he then became a foster child. Malcolm X dropped out of middle school after spending his remaining childhood years in foster homes with his siblings, and several years later moved to Boston and found work in the streets as a thug. He dealt drugs, among other things. Malcolm X was committed to pursuing his studies while completing a 10-year jail term for robbing someone. He was also taught, and he learned the teachings of the Nation of Islam by Malcolm's brother and made Malcolm convert to the Muslim faith. Malcolm X started to research the work of Elijah Muhammad, who preached against systematic injustice and struggled for a society apart from one populated by whites. He was a loyal supporter by the time Malcolm X was free from jail, and prior to meeting Muhammad and deciding to work for the Nation of Islam, he changed his surname to X. The move was meant to symbolize the shedding of what he felt was his slave thing, and the X on his forearm that many slaves got as a brand. Malcolm X was quickly named as the Nation of Islam's minister and national spokesman. He was also tasked with setting up new mosques around the world. He went back to Boston and then became the Nation of Islam's temple minister. He was also chosen to head the Nation of Islam Mosque on Harlem's Lenox Avenue, and had several other facilities in Detroit, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. Increased awareness and interest in the Nation of Islam that held to his public speaking and television appearances. In fact, the rise of the Nation of Islam members rose from around 500 in 1952 to 30,000 in 1963, and it was because of Malcolm X. However, the public nature of his work prompted the FBI and federal government to give Malcolm X very careful attention. The Nation of Islam groups in which Malcolm X was involved were often investigated by the FBI, and they were observed. Malcolm was made aware in the 1960 of the charges of adultery against Elijah Muhammad. All of the women within the Nation of Islam group were also the women with whom Muhammad was alleged to have extra relations with. Malcolm X was not only hurt by the manipulation of his friend following knowledge of these rumors from Muhammad, but felt remorse for leading so many people into the organization or group that he now thought was deceitful. None other than Elijah Muhammad silenced Malcolm X for 90 days for openly criticizing John F. Kennedy immediately after his assassination. It was not long after, while he valued the order, that he officially declared his departure from the Nation of Islam and established his own religious group, the Muslim Mosque Incorporated. Malcolm X returned to the United States with a new mission for his work after spending time on a mission to Mecca, Saudi Arabia, expressing his values and dreams with people of all various backgrounds. He started to direct his work not only to African Americans but to everyone. It didn't matter your civil rights, democracy, action, and community building, he preached. However, though reestablishing himself, the old tensions were already festering with the Nation of Islam, and rumors started that Malcolm X had been marked for assassination. Attempts on his life were made, and threats were made against his wife Betty and his 4 children. His family home was burned down in February 1965. Even though they all made it out alive, no one was charged with arson. About a week later, on February 21st, 1965, in the Audubon Ballroom in Manhattan, 3 men jumped Malcolm X on stage during a speaking engagement, and shot him 15 times at close range. When he arrived at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in New York, he was pronounced dead. Later in that year, Betty gave birth to twin daughters. In March 1966, Talmadge Heyer, Norman Butler, and Thomas Johnson were all convicted of the murder of Malcolm X. In the struggle of social justice, many others have been inspired and informed by the legacy of Malcolm X and his efforts and achievements. Malcolm X once said, "You can't separate peace from freedom because no one can be at peace unless he has his freedom." This is what Malcolm X lived by and what he fought for.